Dudes and dudettes, how are you guys? This is Chazzy, and on today's episode of The Mixer, I am going to be going very far back into the past in a long distant land a long time ago. Very similar to my video talking about my past as a martial artist, but this one is going to be even more intricate, even more detailed, even more personal, because I'm going to be talking about high school. Oh, that was a very complicated time for me. There were so many crazy parties and, underage drinking and, getting with chicks, having way too many girlfriends and going on these crazy adventures in my Escalade, and none of that happened. Okay, I'm just gonna come out and say this. I was a total geek in high school, okay? I was the furthest away from popular. I had a bunch of friends, but they were all geeks like myself. We were nerds and outcasts, we did well in school, but we didn't have a lot of success in the department of girlfriends and that kind of thing, But we got decent grades, we played a lot of video games outside of school, so we had a lot of fun, And looking back on my high school days, there is, of course, a lot of nostalgia, and it's even more so because I studied until my 10th year, my sophomore year, until the 10th grade in the United States, and then I had to come back to Brazil in 2009. So there is a lot of nostalgia because of that, and like the thing is that 2021 is a very strange year for me, and I'm going to explain why. I recently had a conversation with a friend of mine who actually I have known since high school, and she reminded me that in 2021 she's going to have her high school reunion, and the thing is that affected me in such a deep way because my class, I actually studied at Monarch High School in Coconut Creek. I was gonna say Florida, of course it was in Florida, in Coconut Creek, and I studied 9th and 10th grade there. And the thing is that if I had actually stayed and, gotten to 11th and then 12th grade and graduated, I would have finished high school in the year 2011. Exactly 10 years ago, So when she talked about the reunion, it started bringing back all of these memories, and all of these regrets that I had, decisions that I made that ultimately led to me having to move back to Brazil, because it was my fault, it was primarily my fault. Now, if I had actually stayed and I can imagine how different my life would have been if I had actually behaved and stayed in school and actually took it seriously, gotten good enough grades to pass and then eventually graduate in 2011, Would I have stayed there? Would I have continued living in the US with my parents, Would I have started college, Would I have tried to pursue a degree in something that I liked, How different would my life have been if I had actually graduated high school in the United States in 2011, Would I still be living there 10 years later and be able to participate in the same reunion that my friend is going to be, So it's something that really bugs me, It's like, the conversation that we had, it wasn't really her throwing it in my face or anything. It was just her saying that she was excited but also nervous because of the reunion, And it just made me think wow, so much time has passed, so much time. We're talking about 10 years after I should have graduated. And because I left the US in 2009, we're going on now 12 years. I left in June, so in a few months it will be exactly 12 years since I left, which of course is just bonkers. Now, let's be honest, guys. All of us did things in high school that we regret, even if you were a jock, a star athlete, and a good student, and you dated a lot of girls, or you were a girl who dated a lot of boys, people look at that in a different way, freaking a sexist society. But anyway, the point is, even if you were a popular kid and you got good grades, usually it's hard for you to be popular and smart, usually you're very smart, but a nerd or popular and dumb, that kind of thing. But I did see some examples of the contrary. I did see a lot of very smart jocks, who did really well in school, were trying out for varsity teams, but also got very good grades. So it was an exception. And even if you had this lifestyle back in high school, there were things that you probably still regret doing, for example, what if you're Bryce from 13 Reasons Why, and well, then again, he raped girls without their consent. So that, not a good example. But the point is, guys, we all did stuff back in school that we regret, And I can look back on every single major decision that I made that caused a chain reaction of events that led to something unpleasant, And in 2009, I actually did. I'm going to come out and say this, but I don't want to get into too much detail because it's too personal, But I actually became sort of a notorious figure of sorts back in high school because I was harassing a lot of girls, doing something very unique and different that well, in my head was something that was used more to gain attention, you know, and try to make all of these really pretty girls talk to me, you know, and ask for help with something. I pretty much made them come to me for help with something that I myself was causing, you know. So it wasn't, I think out of all the things that I've done in my 28-year existence, that is probably one of the ones that I most regret, because it caused a chain reaction of events, you know. At first everyone was liking me because I was helping them, but then eventually things started to spiral out of control, and then I ended up making their lives a living hell. And eventually, of course, obviously it was, you know, the cat got out of the bag and everyone found out that it was me. So I was actually a very controversial figure in my high school. I was actually hated by a lot of the student population. And looking back on it all these years later, I mean, I actually have seeked out each one of my victims individually, and I apologized, and some of them, you know, forgave me, others didn't, you know, but that's to be expected, you know. But it's always that kind of thing, like we do things back when we're younger that we just regret, you know. And I can look back on me mistreating some of my friends, you know, like there was a time that I was pretending to be a thug, you know, a gangster, and I was trying to fit in with the wrong crowd that clearly wasn't for me, and I ended up being a douche to all of my friends, you know, who we actually used to hang out after school, you know, and we were really close. Our families knew each other. So I just basically became a douchebag, you know, an insufferable douchebag, and it sucked, you know. And back then I thought I was doing the right thing to try to be popular and force something that wasn't really there, you know. And I mean, at one point I pretty much had no friends, you know. I had very few friends, you know, those who knew that I was just a fraud but still wanted to hang out with me anyway. And looking back on it today, like, I can see all of these same friends today still living there, you know. They're very successful. They moved to different cities, you know. There's a buddy of mine who lives in New York. He has his own place. He makes a lot of money, you know. He has a daughter now. So like, my friends are doing really well for themselves, you know. And even though I also am myself, you know, I consider myself to be very successful here in Brazil where I am right now, I still feel like, I always get the feeling like, what could have been if I hadn't made a series of bad decisions that led to me, you know, coming back to Brazil. And all of that because my friend just happened to mention the high school reunion. Now, there is one interesting factor here in all of this. Let's just say, like, even though I didn't graduate in 2011, I was still part of the class of 2011 in the Monarch Nights. So let's just say, for some reason, somehow, I know that it's impossible to travel anywhere because of the coronavirus. You know, there are many countries who are still in quarantine, especially now it's getting worse. But let's just say, for some reason, I am given the opportunity to travel back to the US and go specifically to the high school where I would have graduated in 2011 and be a part of the 2021 high school reunion, you know. I think it would be extremely awkward, you know, because seeing a lot of the people who were there to witness my rise and downfall as an online predator of sorts, you know, I mean, like, how would people react? How would the girls react if they see me today, you know? And sometimes, guys, sometimes I do something that makes me kind of feel like a stalker, but it's not, because I don't really use it for harm. I just do it out of curiosity. Sometimes I go on Facebook and I look for people back in the day. I look for my friends, you know? And through my friends, you know, whether or not I have them on Facebook or I added them, I look through their profiles to find other people, you know, and I just start going down this rabbit hole of seeing people today, you know, who I knew when we were younger back in high school. And sometimes I might get a yearbook or something and look certain people up just to see how they're doing and what's been going on, you know. I think everyone does this, you know. It's depending on how you do it, it's a little creepy, you know. It would be creepy if you find a person who you knew and then you add them and send them like a cryptic message or something. That is creepy as hell, you know. But like, sometimes I just go and look, you know, just to see, wow, this person is doing well. Wow, this person isn't doing well. Wow, it's that person from before. Wow, it's him, her, this and that, you know. We go down this nostalgic rabbit hole and trying to find out, you know, what exactly people have been doing, you know, which I think is pretty okay. I think it's just a matter of curiosity. And I see people sometimes, like, they are extremely successful, you know. And there's a buddy of mine who recently got married and he bought a really big house, you know, and it's crazy. It's really freaking crazy, you know. And you know, I mean, I just I look back on my high school days with very fond memories, but like, because it wasn't exactly the age of innocence, you know, because I was becoming very sexually active during that time, so I was looking at girls with different eyes. But ever since middle school, that's been happening. But of course, in high school, it was worse, you know. And let's just say abstinence wasn't exactly on my mind, you know. But the point is that like when I look back on it today, I feel like even more, I feel more sad than happy, you know, because I see that all of the things that I could have done differently to keep the friends that I had, you know, and we could have still been very close today, you know, me still living in the US and working, you know, so sometimes I just cry. You know, I start weeping, you know. I'm not gonna do this here for the video. I'm very well trained for YouTube. I don't think I've ever cried on this channel. But the thing is that it makes me cry sometimes because the nostalgia is way too strong, you know. And I know that it was because of a series of things that I did that led my parents to the breaking point, you know. And then eventually we had I did what they consider to be the last straw, and they just let me finish out my sophomore year before moving back to Brazil, which of course is something that I didn't like. I really don't like living in this country, you know, but more on that later, okay? And yeah, you know, it sucks, you know, it really sucks. And in the case that this video reaches somebody, you know, who I went to high school with, you know, if you happen to be a person who I, you know, didn't really treat very well, you know, I want to apologize to you right now, or all of you collectively. And for some of my friends who I kind of, you know, rejected, you know, who I just, you know, who I looked down on when I started getting a different lifestyle, I'm really sorry to all of you guys too, you know. And I hope that this video, recording this video for a public YouTube channel is actually kind of cathartic for me. Some of my vlogs are very cathartic because I'm able to release something that I normally wouldn't, you know. It's not like I don't talk about this kind of thing with even my closest friends here in Brazil, so it's very nice to release this here, you know. It also gives you guys, my subscribers, a chance to know more about me, you know. It's not, my channel isn't all dumb videos and informative stuff and gameplays, you know. So yeah. And I just wanted to get that out there, you know. Apologize again to everyone who I may or may not have offended and mistreated back then, you know. And if you guys decide to have because I think it's more about if the students want to, but if there is a 2021 high school reunion, you know, regardless of whether or not you guys even remember who I am, I hope you have fun, you know. I hope you really enjoy yourselves, you know, and that you can look back on high school with more fond memories than I did, you know. So that's it, guys. I think that's all I wanted to share, you know. And yeah, it's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of sad memories, but also happy ones. I did enjoy high school to a certain degree. I made some good friends. I played a lot of video games, you know. Me and my friends were always trying to see who could get the highest amount of gamer scores. So yeah, but yeah, I wonder if my closest friends back then still remember me today. If they don't, well, can't really blame them, can I? I'm not worth remembering. But anyway, this is getting sad already. So let's wrap this up here so I can get over to recording some more stuff, you know. And that's it, you know. The high school reunion that I could have had but never will, unfortunately. I graduated from high school here in Brazil in 2012, and it wasn't ceremonious at all. It just kind of sucked. I didn't even go to my reunion, you know, when it happened. So yeah, that's it, guys. That's it. This is Chazzy signing out for now before I start crying. And as always, I will see you guys in the next video.